Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, June the 13th, 2026, about 10:04 a.m. Let's see if we have any questions. Any lot going on in the world, lot going on here. What about in your neck of the woods? How are things faring? And do you have any questions about anything?
I have three things I want to put out there. I don't know where you're going. It's after the question.
Okay, before we give it to Pastor, does anyone have a question or a concern, statement, anything? Okay, thank you, Pastor.
Um, there are I've been questions have been raised about um, AI, and that's one of the things that I want to mention uh, in a few moments. However, there are a couple other things that I see, and one deals with our spirituality, and the other deals with the word black. Um, Out of all the people in the world who are descendants of a cable line, we are the only ones who are labeled as black. In other parts of the world, like Jamaica, they're called Jamaicans, uh, Trinidadians, Nigerians, but we are not called Americans. We are called black. That is an identifying an identifier for us that we ourselves use quite frequently, and that identifier was presented to us as being something negative. And a lot of us embrace it as being negative until we learn better. Why is that important to me? Well, what I was shown is that before we were Babylonians in the minds of other people, before there was any enslavement at all, there was an interaction with Europeans. We were called Ethiopian, we were called Cushites, we were called um, Kemites, and each one of those designated black, a skin color, the Cushite black, the Ethiopian um, black or burnt skin. The Kemet was the land of the blacks. And what I was shown in regards to that is we being the only ones in the earth who has that primary identifier as black, carries us to a place in time from the beginning until now. If you can see this by virtue of drawing a horizontal line in your mind, on the left end of that horizontal line is the beginning. And that is the period when we were called Kemites, Cushites, etc. Um, and on the right side of the end of that line, we are called black. So, why is it that we, being previously enslaved, of course, and in the belly of the whale, the mind, actually the brain of the barbarian is what we are. So why is that identifier important? That identifier is important because when we first came in contact with Europeans, there were no quote unquote tribal differences. There were no distinctive names for each group of people. All of us were identified as being Black. And being Black speaks volume because the word Black also denotes a color, but that color has within it context. And the context of that color of Black is that everything comes from Black. And Black absorbs all colors, and white resists all colors. So it's no coincidence that white people call themselves white, even though they're pink. But it's no coincidence that that happened. These color distinctions are important. And in addition to that, I also see that we being in this country, being called Black, and we have talked about being the tip of the spear of change. So the energy of that designation of Black from the beginning till now is filled with the same energy that was present when we were called Kemites, Ethiopians, etc. It was a recognition, though subconscious recognition of who we are, and it became more conscious to Europeans the more that we interacted or was forced to interact with them. And for us to have that label to this day says that it is incumbent upon us to embrace the energy of the beginning and to clear all of the negativity towards it, as well as the bondage that this concept of rejection, white, has put into this environment, and began to look at and embrace the context of Black by absorbing and refreshing and redeeming everything that has created an atmosphere of bondage and manipulation for us, for the whole world. And in doing so, it gives us a deeper understanding of the why that we are here, and the why that we are doing what we are doing. To some, it's a bold statement to say that our recognition and the embracing of this, the term Black, but more importantly, the concept of it, our recognition and embracing of it is extremely important to bringing balance to the earth. If you look at those spectrums and you see the left side of that line and the right side of that line, if you look at where we are, what we are doing is actually moving in the direction of beginning. In other words, to bring beginning to now, and to bring everything to the now, because as we look at that line, what we see is a flow of energy, but in between it are divisions of people. And the more that we recognize and embrace the energy of beginning, the more we begin to see a shift in the mindset of everyone who lives or exists in between the beginning of that timeline to where we are currently. And in doing so, um, it shows us how divine it is to recognize the divinity that we are, but also to bring balance to other people without destroying or seeking or desiring to destroy them. Our desire is to absorb them into the principles of Mayat so that balance will truly exist in this earth. Are there any questions or comments about that, or are you able to see what I am presenting or talking about right now to anyone?
I have a question. I think I'm grasping what you're speaking of in the concept of black. You said absorb into Mayot. Could you explain that a little bit more for me?
Yes, every color that black absorbs becomes a part of black, the color black, and it's indistinguishable from that. And when I use that term, I see Mayat as being indicative of the context of black. And being absorbed in the Mayat means that there are no distinguishing features from the principle, from living the principles of Mayat, from practicing the principles of Mayat. There are no distinctions based upon ethnicity or a natural origin. That regardless of who you are, and regardless of what group of people you're a part of, you are indistinguishable simply because the principles of Mayat has once again brought us to a state of being one. Does that help, Vermeil?
Greatly. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Ron?
While you were talking, I was thinking about something. We've been called a lot of things in this country, and all of that has been a part of our journey. And all of it is something that I kind of saw this while you're talking, that we had to shake off. Like, we're not this, we're not this word, we're not that word. And all of it was a part of us seeing our identity. And at the time, we didn't know that or think about it in that regard. But uh, this was something that was intended to be negative. But a group of people, because a lot of other lands have Africans that were enslaved, but this group of people, as you said, are the only ones that have not been called by the land that they were brought to. And that's for a purpose. So I look at it from a spiritual perspective and think, wow, what have we grown into? We've rejected all the most of the other names. Some of us still cling to some of that stuff. But what have we grown into? What was the creator's intention for us to grow into and see how for us to see ourselves and how that has moved to a place where it has the ability to change the world, not just this country. Because as you were speaking, I was thinking about the Akashic records and the energy that that brings, and who has the divine know-how or wisdom or desire even to make changes in the world, and what how does that fit in? So it's something to say black contains everything. Everything comes out of that. And so if we are the people in this land that are called blacks, that means more than you know it. It's something, it's almost back to creation as. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling now. But a lot just went through
You
my
know,
head when you were talking about that.
Um, you're not rambling. Are any questions or comments about what I or Ron said?
Not necessarily, Grand Rising, not necessarily about just what Ron said, but something you said in the beginning, created Elohim, whatever. And embedded in that very line is what we are. If you change that to in the now, because everything's now, in the now created Elohim. So by being in the now, embedded in that tells us who we are. That in the now is how we create, not from the past, not from thinking about what could be in the future, but right in the now. So that was insightful for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And
Yeah.
by thinking about it that way, gives us an unbroken lineage with the energy of beginning. Because the now is always beginning, right?
Yes.
So, are there any other questions or comments? Thank you, Bob.
Greetings and good day, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Sure.
The one thing that I've been thinking about occurred to me a few weeks ago when we talk about that blackness. And we talked about melanin a few months ago, but everyone probably on the line is familiar with the Marvel Disney series, Black Panther. And the thing which was that most vital and important and miraculous mineral there, which was only there in Wakanda, was vibranium. And it occurred to me that the only thing vibranium is talking about is the same blackness that we talk about today, which is that melanin. So it's not that we have this mineral in our land. The mineral actually is us. And Ron and you, Pastor Richard, mentioned earlier about being called that, and even the people calling us that didn't even understand the magnitude of what they were actually talking about. And then, of course, all this time, for a long time, the very vibranium people, I would say, not realizing that they were looking down on their own greatness, our own greatness that we are. But just in context of thinking of this blackness as being vibranium, completely changes everything from an entire paradigm shift. If one can actually, in a sense, meditate or just even open up the thought of that being a possibility, it automatically changes your experience and automatically puts one on the path into walking to who they are. I was thinking about it also, I think it was last week when we were talking about what is God to us and how does that change. What actually changes that experience or has what has a great impact on one actually experiencing that is just opening up to the idea of it even being a possibility, and then you allow those experiences to actually happen. That in a sense, we have been influenced to not allow and completely dismiss. So it is us, ourselves, who have shut them out just by thinking of them as being impossible. And that is, well, that's all I wanted to say at the moment. I'm finished.
Thank you, Sheldon. Comments? Nick, what do you research?
Oh no, I'm just doing something else actually. But I was just thinking about it has never been lost on me in the case of the Black Panther and the sort of modern mythology that is describing, which is the sort of spiritual power and history of Black peoples, is that the key in there, the sort of key factor, I guess you could say, in their ability to use that power is vibranium, which of course is vibration and frequency. You know, it is the recognition of the fact that you have the ability to increase your frequency so that you can gain access, well, become aware or aware again of the source of the strength that Black people have in perhaps not in excess, but definitely in greater reserve, I think,
Well, Nick, would you say
than less Black.
grasp of it?
Greater grasp of it, or more ease of an intuitive ease of access to it, perhaps, and much more so. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Questions about that or comments?
Yeah, Nick, go into that some more. Say that again about increasing your frequency, please.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Also, I haven't been here in a little while just because my work situation has changed. So I'm working overnights occasionally, but increasing the frequency of your mind, body, and overall self, as they are all connected and part of the same thing. As we've spoken about it in here before, but basically it has the ability, or it has the ability to transform your entire physical makeup, as the physical parts of ourselves are really extensions of or projections of the spiritual or energetic aspects of ourselves. And so increasing your frequency of vibration is essentially allowing for more of that spiritual or energetic aspect of the self to inhabit the physical. It's like when you imagine there's like when you put two tuning forks together, if they are in tune and you hit one of them, the other one will start to vibrate. So the physical body and the sort of what we think of as the natural mind, as we have spoken about, our sort of mundane attention that is focused on physical stuff and distracted and sort of caught up in this experience. That is kind of like a sort of bent out of shape tuning fork that cannot resonate or vibrate in tune with the energy or spirit that is sort of just on the other side of our awareness, or just outside of our awareness. And when we learn to quiet the mind, when we learn to become more aware of those things that are sort of just outside of our physical perception, and deal with all the aspects of the self that we experience and feel while participating in this physical or material experience that prevent us from becoming more aware of those things, that's when we take that bent tuning fork and bend it back into shape so that it can resonate with the energy, spirit, and higher frequencies that are also a part of us, or that we are. And that has the effect of transforming in a very real physical way, even your physical body. You know, at the when you are advanced down that in that process. But as it relates to vibranium, that's like when you put on the Black Panther suit, you put on the let's say when you embrace the energy that melanin is attempting to sort of translate into physical experience.
Okay.
And that whole process of raising your vibration, of learning to make your mind quiet so that that vibration and feeling can come through much more strongly and have a greater influence, is that process, especially in Black people, of reawakening to the true nature of the self, which is, let's say, much more intuitively strong and present within you. And that is part of your instinct to seek out. And that it is the goal of the enemies of humanity, essentially, to prevent you from doing. And prevent you, Black people, us, Black people, from doing in particular. Because your connection to it is the strongest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron, does that help?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I can see all of that. That is the results of not understanding but trying to control those frequencies was what happened when religion was brought into existence, but also when Freemasonry was brought into existence. Both of those are efforts to control and to manipulate these frequencies of spirituality. And our people saw what was happening, but they didn't see it. And I'll give you an example let me ask first, are there any other questions about what we were talking about being the word black before I move into this?
Hi, everyone. Oh,
Go ahead,
Charles,
Aisha.
you go ahead. You sure?
Just you?
Um,
Go
this
ahead. Go ahead.
my question is kind of tangential and a little strange. I feel like we've talked before about our hair and how it coils and the potential for Black hair to be an antenna of sorts. But I don't remember what we discussed and if there's any truth to that.
Yes, it is not an antenna of sorts. It is black hair is an antenna that is connected to frequency, as well as drawing, attracting the melanin, the heat, the light rather from the sun that activates melanin. So yes, it is indeed a antenna of enlightenment. There's no question about that.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Nick.
Oh, yes. I remember years and years ago hearing somebody named Bobby Hemmett say Black hair curls and spirals like DNA does. Because it's the same sort of principle. It is the sort of reproduction in the physical of the way that energy moves and behaves in higher realms of frequency. And that is why so many everybody already knows the story of Samson or whatever from the Bible, who as soon as you cut his hair, his power disappeared. But there is truth to that on many levels. But that's also where you get in many Native American traditions and many sort of people who live more natural or more close to people who live more close to balance and harmony around the world, in that you don't cut your hair. And
Nick,
Mhm.
the royal guards and the palaces in Europe. The hats that they wear are replicas. They did not invent those hats. They're would you mute your phone, please? Whoever cleared their voice, I cleared their throat. They are replicas of the royalty that was shown by the Moors when they were in Europe, because their hair, they shaped their hair like those hats are made. They were the royal guards, and their hair, they grew their hair, and it was shaped a certain way, and that designated them as being royal protectors or royal guards around the palaces of Europe during the time of the Moors. But there are also other hairstyles that were worn by males as well as females that denoted position, status in the community. And keep in mind also that the reason we have stuff like okra in this country is because the seeds were braided into the hair of those who were captured or those who were stolen from the continent and brought to this place. So hair plays a major role in the spirituality and the survival of our people. That help you, Janice?
Oh, yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Questions about that before we move further? I was saying that our people understood, well, they knew rather, that the frequencies of that we were, the frequency that we were guided by were different than anybody else in the earth, and that was shown. They were experiencing something that we buried, and that experience came in the way that they incorporated God or Jesus into their life. The whole concept of creating Jesus started with Ptolemy Soter when he first said the first European to sit on the throne in Kemet. And Soter means a savior, so that European became in his own mind a savior to those who had black skin. And this concept of this savior was Zeus, until the J came into the vernacular, and that the language rather, when it came into the language, and that J became Jesus as opposed to Zeus, and that has continued to today. However, there is a difference. We talked about how we embraced Jesus and God during our periods of Christianity. Yet those who were our ancestors didn't do that. And most of you probably have heard these words before. I don't know what God they serve, but that's not the God I serve, because we don't do that. Or I don't know what Jesus they're talking about, because the Jesus that I follow is totally different than the Jesus that they talk about. Are you guys aware of those words being uttered by our people in the past? That's not rhetorical.
Yes, very much. And even an extension of that is you don't act like that. That's not who you are. You know, you weren't raised like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was in itself a response to a frequency that they did not understand, or a frequency that was still with them because of the distance they had maintained from the mindset of Europeans. And the more educated we became, or the more indoctrinated we became, the less we relied on that. That also is the reason that our ancestors were able to see things and other things that they never read because they couldn't read, but they knew things simply because of the frequency that we were talking about. Any questions about that? Because I wanted to mention something else about the religions of antiquity. Any questions? Okay.
My question, Real.
Oh, I'm sorry, Charles. Go ahead. Where are you?
I'm still at the part when you was talking about they always call us black or call us when you go to a place to fill an application, it's gonna be either white American or black American. Sometimes they change it up and say black Afro American. Now, I'm glad you bringing this out because I always was stuck in that application trying to fill it out. And I know I said I'm not that. I don't know what to put down here, but I got to check one. But anyway, I'm glad everyone is talking about this, and I'm glad to hear the comments because I'm being opened up to all what you're saying. Because I mean, if we are, I mean, we didn't know nothing about who we were because we always thought we was Africans and Africans and Africans, but we found that out different, and we found that we've come, well, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, I thank God for this lesson because white people don't never say they Europeans, American. They always say white American, and I'm saying they came from another country and took this country over. So
But
why do they keep saying they're
Charles,
American?
Charles,
Yeah.
they do. They say they are Spanish American or Italian American, French American. So they do connect themselves to Europe when they're saying that. However, the bottom line is we are white Americans, and when they make that statement, it means that every quote unquote tribe in Europe has band together based upon skin color and become one, and that is American. So that differentiation only serves them when it's convenient.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions or comments before this religion of antiquity? The religion, when we talk about what was in terms of what we believed, you've heard me make statements about my desire to have the mindset of the Kemetan priests. During the course of my meditation, of course, that's where the whole concept of black came from that I'm talking about today, and the rest of it as well. During that period, I was shown, and I usually say I was told, but it's an impression, it's an experience more than a voice you hear, that there is no need for us to make any efforts to replicate the belief systems or the spiritual systems that were in existence during the period the Kushite kingdoms. And my question, of course, was why? And then I began to see something, that the spiritual essence of the Nigerian who worship the, what is it? What is it? Begins with an older religion, primary religion in Nigeria. Anyway, it'll come to me. They are different than those who worship in different areas of that continent. So, but during the course of that worship, they are in tune with the same frequency, the same energy, the same creator. It's simply that their approach is different based upon their cultural differences and how they are guided to approach the creator. All roads lead to the creator, that kind of thing. And here we are, having been designated as Black, carrying this same label from beginning of our interaction with Europeans. We are rejecting the European religion as our ancestors did by saying, that's not my God, that's not Jesus, etc. And there is no need for us to try to replicate those approaches, simply because we are being shown the approach that is necessary for us to take the journey that we are to take, the road that we are to travel. And though the wording is different, as well as a great number of the teachers, they are all, even though they're different, they're inclusive of everything that was taught in the past, or everything that was taught from beginning. And that is, you are divine, you are one with the Creator, that kind of thing. And this whole idea of a dominant system of masculinity did not come into existence until Europeans dominated Africa. So I'm not talking about that aspect of it. I'm not talking about when Islam and Christianity forced masculinity on femininity. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about from the beginning, the foundational structure of every approach of spirituality is the same, and that is, you are divine, and you are one with the Creator. And the understanding of dominating the world was expressed when the Moors went into Europe. And I use that term Moor because it means...
I'm using a voice assistant to convert your voice to text and respond to you. If you want to the whole idea of God, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the Moors in Europe. The word Moor also means Black. However, when the scripture talks about that we are to be fruitful and multiply, but also it says that we're to dominate. Well, how did that take place? Well, when we talk about the Moors having ruled Spain for 700 years, what did they do? That tells us what domination looks like. What did they do? During this period, what they did was they built educational facilities, that they built libraries, universities, they built structures where spiritual worship took place. They introduced hygiene. they introduced the method for having indoor plumbing and indoor water. They actually built I showed them how to build roads and to live in homes as opposed to caves. All these things were being shown. So this is the method of domination that the Creator has introduced to us. And that domination was seized upon by Europeans and taught us to believe that it meant something totally different. And here we are now in the same vein that we have been shown to dominate. Here we are now doing the same thing. And the same thing meaning that we are still making every effort to teach both spiritual and physical hygiene to Europeans. We're still in the throes of making every effort to show them what civilization is, what it looks like. Because, quite frankly, the lessons that the Moors taught, the domination that they expressed through what they taught, did not really change the mindset of Europeans in a lot of ways. And there is still a challenge with the Europeans when it comes to hygiene and when it comes to interaction or on a level of humanity. There are still issues there. So how our refusal to embrace their religious standards or their religious, whatever you want to call them, keeps us in the pathway of spirituality. And now that we are doing what we are doing, we are creating, and I really mean this word create, and I'm not using it loosely at all. We are creating an environment of spirituality. And the environment of spirituality can only be brought into existence for through blacks or through melanin, through Akashic consciousness, through ancestral guidance. That's the only way that this can be brought into existence. And in addition to that, we have spoken quite frequently about the whole concept of balance and bringing into existence balance. But I want to raise a question about that at this moment. And as I speak, this has been shown to me. I want to raise a question about this concept of balance. If we stop and ask ourselves, what are we trying to balance? What are we trying to bring into balance? What does it look like? And we've asked that before, and we have ventured to respond to the question. This concept of balance, when we think about what we are balancing, we are not really bringing balance at all when we really think about it. What we're actually engaged in doing is creating an environment of transformation. Because if we are bringing balance and we see that the barbaric nature, the Neanderthal attitude versus Mayat, how do you balance that? You can't balance it because they are antithetical to each other. They are diametrically opposed to each other. So what we are actually doing is transforming an environment into the environment that existed from the beginning. And that transformation entails the altering of the institutional, the philosophical, educational journey of humanity. So in influencing and transforming the journey of humanity so that it is reflective of Mayat, is that really bringing balance, or are we purifying an environment that has been tainted by a Neanderthal mindset? What do you guys think? Does that resonate?
I guess I have to think on that for a minute because I kind of still see it. You bring balance to yourself, but that doesn't mean that
Or do you bring balance to yourself? If you think about it, what we are doing is purging, right?
Yes.
And if we are purging all the Neanderthal aspects of our life, that at the very least, that's what we seek to do anyway. If we are purging that, then are we seeking balance, or are we seeking a transformation by the renewing of our minds, by becoming one with enlightenment itself, by virtue of being enlightenment to others and for others? So you see where I'm coming from? Are we balancing ourselves, or are we purging?
wouldn't that be one and the same though?
Yeah.
I don't
For,
think
for,
balance and purging are the same.
for example, someone who experiences depression or any anxiety for that matter, and you're moving to a place, as we have discussed on many occasions. Nick brought up, how many times we talked about raising our vibration, how many times we talked about, as Barb talked about, living in the now. All of that is a part of purging, but all of it is also addressing those ills that are in you that you're trying to rise above.
So
I don't know if you can separate that.
what I'm asking is this, Ron, and I'm not challenged as much as I'm looking seeking clarity. Okay,
Okay.
what are the ills? What is the source of those ills that we're talking about? It's the source of those ills the very mindset that we are seeking to purge ourselves of. Why are we depressed? Do we become depressed because of the lack of the lack that we feel we have? And if that is the case, then what is the lack? And if the lack is something that was initiated by the mindset that has put the world in bondage, then I see the purging of that no different than if you eat if you get, what is it, food poisoning. What does your body do? Your body purges you of everything that causes you to feel ill. And once your body has rid itself of all of those things, your body comes back to its original state. So the question is that purging, or is that I'm sorry, is purging and balance the same thing? And I see purging as separating ourselves from something.
I believe that purging reinstates the balance. In other words, we are out of kilter, we are out of sorts, we are out of rhythm, we're out of sync, we're out of frequency. Balance is being in frequency. It's our internal and both our external environments being aligned
Mm-hmm.
with the universe and with each other and with creation. All of that works together in synchronicity. And the purging is what's needed to rebalance all of that, to put it back at the state where it's purposed to be.
So, may I ask a question in regards to that? Are we saying that balance consists of the world, the material world, and the spiritual world being in synchronicity with each other? As above, so is below. Is that what we're saying balance is? As opposed to trying to balance a mindset that is antithetical to spirituality with spirituality itself. Which of those are we talking about?
The first one that you talked about is what I believe, that there has to be that synchronicity between the spiritual and the material.
Okay.
And that's the role of the spiritual, the consciousness of the spiritual experiencing itself in the material realm to overcome all of those things we have to purge ourselves of until we understand and know who we truly are in the first place.
Okay. Now, may I ask a non-rhetorical question? And that is, are you guys clear on what we are talking about in terms of what balance looks like? And that is pretty much as above, so is below. Is that, maybe I should do it this way, because Ron and I were talking about it earlier, this idea of as above, so is below, both being in synchronicity. That's balance. Do you see that as balance? Ron?
Yes.
Okay. So
The example that Barb gave when she was giving her explanation, and she talked about being raising your vibration, being one with the universe, being one with creation, being one. I don't see any of that as being physical. I don't see it as a material world. I see that if you gain, if you, and this is my opinion. I'm trying to understand this too as we talk it out. But I see as we understand all of that, you gain a better insight of who you are internally. And that's just for this conversation using that word. And that's what brings the synchronicity to the as below and below. You pursue it from the inside out. So the pursuit is not necessarily me saying I want to line up as above, so is below, or the material and the spiritual world. I don't see the journey that way. And I don't know if I can explain what I'm trying to say.
I think I get the gist of it, Ron.
Because everything that she listed, I agree with. And none of that to me, none of those pursuits are all of it is spiritual.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that there is no balance between the spiritual and the Neanderthal mindset. That's not a balance. That's a purging.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Now,
Yeah. Okay.
now
Okay.
when we talk about as above, so is below, I can see that as two worlds being balanced with each other. One is reflective of spirituality in a material way, and the other one is spirituality.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see that. But it's the mindset that I was referring to in the beginning when I talked about the purging of it. I cannot see balance with that mindset when it comes to spirituality, because that mindset is what actually upset the apricot. The apricot, that mindset is the mindset that brought into this space a barrier, a mental barrier that, of course, it doesn't exist in reality, but a barrier that separates the material from the spiritual. That's what religion does.
I see it now. See, I got to go all the way around. I got to take the long route, but I see it. I'm with you.
You got to see scenic route.
Yeah.
You're not the only one, Ron. You're not the only one.
Barbara Jane, you have any comments on that since you brought that into our discussion?
No, sir, you brought it into discussion. I just added to it. The only thing, the balance is not in the balancing is not in the purging itself. The balance is in the being. It's the state. It's the state having done the work, if you will. And I use work loosely.
Right.
But I agree with you. There is no balance between those two mindsets.
Right.
They are antithetical, directly antithetical to each other.
Absolutely.
And there is no way that the two can exist in balance at the same time.
So we've answered a question.
In other words, they're not in balance.
Right. I see that.
Yeah.
We've answered a question because we have been talking about what does balance look like, have we not?
Yes.
Now we have been shown what balance looks like. We also have been shown that there is much merit in spirituality, and there is a higher frequency when it comes to this term or this word Black. It carries a higher frequency than any other word that describes people. So having been shown that Black carries this higher frequency, and now seeing what balance looks like, now we see what God looks like. We see what divinity looks like. Can you? Does that resonate?
It does.
Anyone else? Does that resonate?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Okay. So seeing that that's what divinity looks like. There is something that is being put in place and having been worked on for years. And that is a God that is controlled by the Neanderthal mindset. And that God is being created as we speak. That golden calf that was fashioned in the wilderness is being fashioned in the wilderness now, but in greater detail. That golden calf is called AI. So this is the God of the Neanderthal mindset. This God of AI puzzles a lot of people. In order to understand the creation of this God and why the reference has been made to it as a God being created by Neanderthals. Why is that reference there? Because of what it is being created to do. These data centers are not simply corporations seeking to make a profit. These data centers are creating algorithms for the express purpose of storing all the information on Earth, inclusive of all the information about you, about us, every human. The data centers are applying for sovereign recognition, meaning that if they receive sovereign recognition / embassy recognition, that means that no local authority has any authority over these centers, and they can be forbidden from entering the property of these data centers. And only those who are in charge of the government, which are being manipulated by the owners of the data centers, are able to have anything to do with these centers. In these algorithms, there is an effort to preclude or to gather your information and determine what your potential behavior is. How does it gather information? Every single thing that's in your home right now, every electronic device that's connected to the internet is the source of their information. Your Ring doorbell tells them what time you leave home and what time you came back, who came into your house, who you entertained. The computer in your car tells them where you travel, what places you frequent. Your phone, your TV, your computer tells them the conversations you have. They log all those conversations, with whom you had those conversations, and the date and time of those conversations, the content. In other words, the data centers are to be, to the Neanderthal mindset, omniscient, knowing all things about all people. And if it is predetermined that your behavior is antithetical to the system, then the authorities within the government will pick you up and take you to a detainment center. And an effort may or may not be made to debrief you or to change your mindset. So you have a choice. What they call heaven is being in obedience to the policies that they put forward. And what they call hell is if your behavior is determined to be antithetical to their existence, antithetical to their policies, then that detainment center becomes hell. And you say, but there are not that many. Yes, it is. There are more detainment centers being constructed around this country than is necessary for those who are called immigrants. Immigrants are the excuse for building the centers in preparation for the data centers going into existence. Not only that, you will be also paying for your own demise. Let's say that the data centers have entered agreement with the power companies, and they are going to pay 15 cents per kilowatt hour for their existence. And now it's costing more for the utility companies to produce electricity enough for that data center to function. So what does it do? It increases the amount of the kilowatt hours that the residents and other businesses pay. Yet the kilowatt hours at 15 cents stays with the AI because they have signed long-term contracts with these utility companies. So the amount of power increase that they are using, you are the one who's paying for it. And not only that, you're also running the risk of being poisoned because it takes millions of gallons of water to keep these servers cool. And in doing so, this water becomes contaminated with radium and is back into the environment. And you say, but how many servers? Servers are not as big as they once were. For example, the one that they're putting in in Spartanburg, that data center will house tens of thousands of servers in racks, and all of it will be continuously receiving and computing and analyzing information 24/7. And it only takes a handful of people to operate a center that's 1,000,000 square feet. So it's being put out there that it's going to make everything convenient. Well, it is our idea of the internet being convenient for us. Our cell phones are convenient to us. A laptop is convenient. The TV with the streaming services are convenient. All these things that are being made convenient have become an entrapment for control of humanity. And this is not just in America, this is worldwide. And just yesterday, the king of the heap became a trillionaire, a man who is controlled by ketamine, a man who has publicly stated his usage of ketamine, and nobody challenges that, which means it affects his mind in an adversarial way. So now the one who has positioned itself to be the representation of God in the earth is a drug addict, but primarily, basically. And yesterday, with that IPO being offered, there were people who bought into it, and in doing so, they don't know that they are financing their own demise. And I was sharing if I had invested X number of dollars yesterday in that IPO offering, I would have awakened this morning as a millionaire. And if I had brought several of my friends together and we did it all together, we would have awakened billionaires today. Why would I not do that? Why is it that I have been implored to invest in AI, but I refuse to do it? Because AI is antithetical to what we are doing. And I would be financing the demise of humanity or the manipulation of humanity on a broad scale. Not only that, but as it was pointed out to me by actually Ron and some others, the energy would follow the money. So by investing in it, my energy would be attached to it also. And that would be returning the control and manipulation of our energy to those who have from day one sought to keep us in bondage and to to wipe our memories clear of who we really are, which means that we as a people, we as a whole, are simply those of us who are on this journey together, would be buying into a system that we have pledged to bring to a place of destruction. So the hand that enslaves us will be broken. The chains, the invisible chains, will be broken, and we will be made free, not set free, but made free. And the freedom being made free means that knowing who we are and being able to bring into existence as above, so is below. That unicity of both worlds. So that is what I see. The word black, the spiritual nature of our being in this country, and the connection with this AI thing. We have been raised to the place where we are for a purpose. And that purpose is to bring to an end, once and for all, the Neanderthal mindset that has taken what we created and turned it against us. Because the foundational, the foundation of electronics was brought into existence, was created by us, people who look like us. The cell phone, the foundation for the computer, the internet, etc. All of it came from us, and it has been. And these electronical understandings have been merged together for the purpose of control. Are there any questions or comments about that, or shall I ask, does this resonate?
It resonates deeply, and I have a question.
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out, because I use AI for work. I use it for medical research. Like there are areas where it has improved my life, and yet I also deeply identify with what you were saying about our electronic devices. And I can't tell you the number of salesmen that have come to the house that want to offer me the different types of devices that, you can interconnect in your house, and I refuse to have them here. Where do I draw the line? I could stop using it, and I would suffer some consequences for it. How do I square that with what we're talking about?
Okay. You cannot stop using AI because every electronic device that you use uses AI at some point. And if it doesn't yet, it shall be doing so soon. So how do we deal with it? We still use the Bible, right? And the Bible was a tool that was used against us. So I'm not saying that you should not use AI, but just how you use it. AI is no different than anything else. It can be used in an evil way, or it can be used in a beneficial way. And what you just described to me are the benefits of it. And since the energy, our energy, is there in terms of it having been created by us, we also have authority over that energy. And keep in mind that energy is energy, period. Whether it's the energy that powers the lights in your home or the energy that keeps your food cold in the refrigerator, it's still energy. And because of the divine essence of who we are, we have the authority to expand or mitigate anything or any energy force that is antithetical to the free existence of humanity, because we are the ones who brought all of humanity into the earth, came from the womb of the Babylonian femininity or female. And having done so, it still carries our energy. And we are the only ones who carry the traits for all humans. Therefore, we have the authority to inject or to recall or to lay control over any energy in this earth. When we talk about bringing healing to people, what are we doing? We are transforming the energy that is perpetuating a disease within the body, and the transformation of that energy ends that disease. So we have the authority to transform the energy regardless of how large the data center is or where it is located. We are not confined to these individual bodies of ours. We are a consistent unit of enlightenment that has the power to bring enlightenment, or to as we were talking about earlier, to purge the Neanderthal mindset so that it does not become pervasive in our minds, but become a minute influence that we must mitigate before it is able to destroy humanity. And I know I said a lot in that, Janice, but does that resonate with you?
Yes, sir, it does. It feels very much like a tool that can accelerate and expand the power of the Neanderthal mindset to oppress and control if
Right.
it's left unchecked.
There you go. Now think about it the other way. It's almost like when you go into an interview, or you're called to the office or something. The first place your mind go is to the worst case scenario. And what I just spoke of is the worst case scenario. Well, matter of fact, it's even worse than what I said. However, it's just as easy, or it should be anyway, for our mindset, for our power of thought to go through the positivity of being called to the office. I'm being called to the office to get an award, that kind of thing. These units, yes, they are designed to accelerate the destruction of humanity, because they talk about what is it? World Health Organization, Bezos, and Peter Thiel, and Bill Gates. All of them talks about an acceptable number of people dying. And all of them talk about the reduction of the human population in the earth. All of these things are tied to AI. However, we are not controlled by the mindset of the Neanderthal. Neither are we a machine or a group of electronic the Intel things.
And our robots.
No, the things that make the robot work.
Microchips, microprocessors.
Yeah, we're not full of microprocessors at all. We don't have chips in us. We are the energy. And our mindset, I do believe, must shift to that. We are not possessors of energy. We are the energy.
Yeah.
Being the energy, the only energy that can be used to do what they're intending to do is the energy that has been in the earth from the beginning of everything that is. And since we are the beginning, then that energy belongs to us, regardless of whose hands it is in right now. We have the ability, the wherewithal, to mitigate the dangers that's in this AI movement, for lack of a better word. Someone was about to say.
That's part of the balance that you started talking about initially. The whole idea of our using the energy that we are to transpose or transmute or to change what was purposed as illegal and illicit and whatever other negative term, to change that into the positive that is beneficial to mankind, which means then that not only does the negative speed up the Neanderthal negativity, the positive speeds up, has the opportunity to speed up our change, and I mean our in general, our change in understanding and becoming aware of the gods that we are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What you just stated really is an understanding of what they mean for our bad, God mean for our good. This happens when we are unwavering when it comes to who we are. All the things that we deal with, that we face in our lives every day, what we call adverse circumstances or setbacks, are simply detractors from what it means to be on this journey. They are detractors from us maintaining, beyond the shadow of any doubt, the essence of our being intimate, our knowing who we are, and governing our lives accordingly. It is imperative that we understand this, because I want you to know this is not a game. This is life and death. And we are in the throes of life and death. And I don't mean life and death in terms of exiting the body, because our exiting the body doesn't change anything. In order for us to bring as above, so is below, we must be in these bodies to do it. To, as Barbara said earlier, do the work. And I use that word work loosely. We must be in these bodies. Our ancestors cannot do it, but they can guide us in getting it done. We are the only entities who can do this. We are Black, the only label of Black in the earth, the only dominant label of Black in the earth. That's who we are. We are a different culture than any other culture on the face of this earth. We are the culture that everyone copies, which means that we are the influences of everything and everyone in this earth. We have only been using our influence in a cultural way. And using it in a cultural way and seeing the results of it is a message to us. Just like you're able to do this culturally, you are able to do the same spiritually. If you put as much effort into exhibiting who you are as you put in being culturally sound or in step with culture or in league with our culture, we will begin to see manifested the freedom of humanity. No one likes us in any group of people. And some of us don't like ourselves. Why? Because we are a threat to evil. We are a threat to a destructive mindset. And everyone else has been warned against dealing with us. That threat has to be controlled and manipulated. And when we see it from that perspective, that should give us more impotence to make sure that we function as divine beings as opposed to second guessing whether we are or not. I'm done for now. Questions, comments?
So the detractors, on the one hand, looking at it that way, are catalysts for us. Yes. I mean, we have the power to shape, to define what is being presented to us from the material. And so even the distractions are that things that are labeled distractions, and we say that a lot. But if we use those distractions as catalysts to propel us and remind us of who we are, then those distractions have no power. Those detractors have absolutely no power at all, because we suck the energy, the negative, the energy that would be used for negativity out of those words, and we take that same energy and transmute it and change it and use it for good. In other words, so it doesn't matter what they call us, and if they call us black, yeah, I'm black. That means I'm a creator. That means you don't know what you're saying. You don't know how much. Yes, I'm black. I'm a creator. I'm black. I'm a creator.
I'm life.
So
yeah,
everything you're saying resonates so deeply. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Because if not, I'm done for today anyway.
Yeah, this is Angela. I got a question about the AI. Another reason was it created to like influence people from seeing what is real and what is not real?
That influence is already in existence. AI is just going to amplify it. Because right now, the majority of people believe that Jesus exists. And that's not real. And it wasn't AI that did that. AI would be an amplification of convincing us of that. And if we were not seekers of the easy way out convenience, we would not be where we are now. We did not see it coming. Now it's here. It's imperative that we deal with it. Does that help you, Angela?
It does. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think too, AI is every attempt to be spiritual, and they don't know how. So all of this is a mechanical means, or I don't know a better word than that, of being and seeing God, and we've talked about that part before, but it as Barb said, it's a distraction that it should awaken us to, because it in no way can borrow our try to attempt to borrow our energy, i.e. our fears, and be stronger than we are if we recognize who we are and move in that direction.
Yes, may I add an addendum to that?
Of course.
AI is the effort, yes, to create spirituality. No, they don't know how. They don't know how to control it. The reason this comes into existence is because there is an understanding that ever since the destruction of Reconstruction during 1870s, there has been a consistent observance of how we are able to have zero and build a town. build thousands of buildings and a town that is flourishing more than those who had the means to bring into existence their businesses, etc. Ever since the gathering of the number of people who look like us in the streets under the leadership of a King or a Malcolm, that they have noticed it must be stopped. Why? If it gets out of hand, they're going to know who they are. And this is continued over and over until we have gotten to this space where we are right now. And this AI is an effort to imprison, to detain any and everyone who gets out of line. What does that look like when it comes to us? When you raise your voice, when you raise your head, and you recognize who you are, they believe that they will be able to stop it in its tracks. And the it that I speak of is that they see the gathering of a group of people in the future to challenge this AI, and they're going to stop it. But that's not what's happening. There is a new understanding in existence. There is a mindset that is open to beginning. And that mindset is what we are, what we do, who we are, and what our desires are. That is not being seen. That is not being monitored. By the time they realize that God is in control, that God is the dominant force, it will be too late for them to make an effort to stop anything. If there are 50 of us and they take 49 of us, or they take 50 and put in confinement in 50 different places, it does not change who we are, neither does it change the energy that we are. And we are disruptors of all things that are antithetical to beginning, regardless of how many we are or where we are located. That's the addendum I wanted to add, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank
Can I
you.
make a statement right quick?
Sure.
I was watching, I don't even know what channel it was, but I was watching a news segment a couple of days ago. And it's not ironic that we're talking about this, but on this segment, they had a psychologist, they had like maybe 2 medical doctors, and they were talking about AI. And they were saying, the psychologist was saying he's experiencing with his patients and his colleagues, they're experiencing that people are turning to AI for like a connection. Like they're talking to they're using AI, asking AI, what should I do? How should I start my day? What should I do in this situation? What should I do in that situation? And the psychologist was like, he said, you know, we need to look, he said people should look at AI like a tool and not use it as a substitute for human connection. And the medical doctor was saying that he's had patients that rather than go to the doctor, they would consult AI about illnesses and whatever, like aches and pains and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, AI is a good tool, he said, but he said, don't put your health at risk by consulting AI because you don't want to go to the doctor. And I just thought that was strange. And as I thought about it, you know, and how much people are using it. And I was looking at like doing a job search the other day, and all these jobs came up, and it was like AI trainers where they wanted you to train it in certain languages. They wanted you to sit and talk and chat with this AI 40 hours a week. they wanted you to have conversations with this AI just about random things. And in order to train this AI to better interact with humans. And then when I get in class today and we're talking about it, and I just found that, you know, it's a good time for us to have this conversation about AI and about the impact that it is having on society. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you.
It goes back to what Pastor said earlier, Don. It's so convenient now. We want everything to be convenient to us, so easy to us. And they're doing that with AI. There's nothing that you can want or desire. We're gonna wake up one day and find ourselves so attached to our cell phones and artificial intelligence till we won't even know what to do.
And that's what our children are being trained to do right now.
So my question
Hey,
is, go ahead.
well, I'm just gonna say this. Now they got another computer they working on, and that computer is a quantum computer, and they want to connect it with AI, but they say AI is not fast enough yet. This computer is so fast, AI can keep up with it. So once they merge the marriage with that computer, AI will be in leaps and bounds with everything.
Thank you, Charles. That quantum computer, that quantum quantifier, it's already in existence. It was used in the colliders. Excuse me. So when they crashed atoms into each other. So it's already in existence. And I'm not going to say that they have not been merged because there is so much that is outside of the realm of the information sources. So I'm not going to say it does not exist at this time. Thank you. Premier.
So is this us purposing that AI will not be, is this us reclaiming the energy?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I bring something else up that you passed by a long time ago? You mentioned being fruitful and multiplying. It made me think about a seed. You think about a seed of an oak tree that existed 1,000 years ago, and that tree, uh, its offspring, the seed from it should be very similar to the oak tree. At least that's what I used to think. But I'm listening to this conversation now, or this discussion, and we're talking about transforming. We're talking about energy. The seed also has the energy of its history and its past. So it's not, in a spiritual way, it's not the same seed. It cannot be because of the journey that it has taken. So when you talk about being fruitful and multiplying, we want to get back to who we were originally, but at the same time, we see that the journey is a little more convoluted than it was getting here. It takes a little more ingenuity to get to that point. So the seed in that regard has to be different. Does that make sense?
If the seed exists at all. Fruitful and multiply. It speaks to growth and it also speaks to increase.
Yeah.
But the fruit has more seeds in it than the one seed that it came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
So being fruitful and multiply is simply talking about bringing into existence things or entities after your own likeness. Okay, are you able to see that so far? Now, why is that said? Because what the Creator is saying is that we are to bring into existence others of our likeness, our image, right? We did that physically, but we haven't done it spiritually. What is antithetical to that? The whole notion or the whole pseudo reality that we are experiencing. Seedless watermelons, corn that will not reproduce, tomatoes that will not reproduce, okra seeds, non-existent in the okra now. You see where I'm coming from? So it's a decrease. And the very ones who are decreasing decreasing our ability to reproduce these fruit, these vegetables, are the people who are decreasing in number also. And the decrease in number has caused them to desire to decrease the world population altogether. So when the scripture tells us to be fruitful and multiply, it's not just talking about having babies.
Right. Yeah.
And because we done that. We made the babies, whether it be European or Asian. We made the babies and all of them turned against us, you see? Now it's time for us to do the real work, and that is the spiritual mindsets. That's the multiplication, that's the reproduction, that's the fruitfulness. The seed of divinity is already there. We must nurture that seed. And how do we nurture that seed? By bringing into existence as above, so is below. And that happens because of who we are. As Barbara said, we are Black, we are creators. We are not inventors, we are creators. I'm done. Does that track?
Yeah.
You're saying?
Yeah. That's what I was trying to say, that in a spiritual sense. Yeah. Not in a physical, but yeah. That just caught my attention when you said it earlier.
Well, I'm done. And I think we'll pick this up tomorrow if there are questions.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Have a great day.
Bye.